Extreme Anime Radio. 'My Chinese fortune cookie fortune for tonight. Tonight you'll be in the spotlight. I don't know if you can read that. Tonight you'll be in the spotlight, and so tonight we are. Welcome everybody to the Extreme Anime Radio podcast for June the 12th, 2024. I am JR, surrounded by mascots, and over there is my Canadian Swiss friend, Mr. Neff Canuck. Hello, sir.
Good evening. Yes, I'm prepping for the Euros. Yes, I know that's, rather niche, but what the heck? It's like, this is my, ancestral blood calling. And at least we don't suck, because there have been years I've watched the Euro and it's like, okay, 2 matches and they're done. Mm-hmm. At least now they have a shot of getting to the knockout round and a shot of making some noise.
Yeah.
So I'll take that. Of course, with my luck, we'll eventually hit a powerhouse of like England or something. And it's just like, okay, scrape us off the floor because the English will just, wipe us with it.
Something hot around my neck of the woods. Well, a little bit of a distance, but not too far. We have the temporary cricket stadium. Oh, hello. We have a resubscriber. The Power Duo are alive after 38 months of awesomeness. Hooray. Thank you very much. That is Liz with a resubscription. Thank you so much, as always, for your support, Liz. We really appreciate it, and I hope you're feeling better. Yes, the Cricket World Cup, the T20 World Cup, is a big thing now, and it's being hosted this year by the USA and West Indies. And there are some matches happening in Texas, and there are some matches happening in my neck of the woods at the temporary Nassau County International Cricket Stadium. And we had a very big one a few days ago, India and Pakistan. Obviously, we have a big Indian and Pakistani community here in New York City. And yeah, they were in full force at the cricket stadium and it ended up being a very good match.
I was going to say India and Pakistan in cricket is sort of like the hockey equivalent of Toronto and Montreal. There might not be a riot, but it's pretty damn close.
Yeah. There's actually a lot of police presence because there were, for some reports that came up before the tournament began. But all in all, very nice. The only way you can watch it here in the United States, though, is through Willow TV. Which is a dedicated cricket channel. I'm lucky enough with my Fio subscription at home, I can get Willow TV. And that's pretty much the only thing I saw when I was away for almost 2 weeks because I couldn't get access to the live TV stream from my landlady. And so I had to download several apps to watch my favorite things. So CNN, so I could watch that, a little bit of Fox, a little bit of NBC. And yikes. So now I'm happy that I got an offer from American Express that I could get a discount on YouTube TV if I sign up by the end of the year. So I think 2 months of YouTube TV going month to month is in my cards for when I move back upstate next month.
Well, hey, at least you have the option to do that. I mean, of course, YouTube TV is nowhere to be found in Canada because, of course, the oligopoly that runs the Canadian broadcast system up here is like, no,
Mhm.
we're not letting that elephant in the room. They're going to squash us.
Yeah. But it's certainly an option here. And yeah, there's been a lot going on, Neff, since we last streamed. I think might have been 3 weeks ago, I think, last time we did a podcast, right?
Yeah, just before Anime North, where my stress level was somewhere above yikes and heading into, you need to go to ER because your brain is about to explode.
Oh, no. Let's stop talking about the ER. You've been there quite a lot in these last few years.
Yeah, I don't like the thought of it, but it's more a reflex action now. It's like, okay, con, ER, con, ER. No, I don't like that thought.
So before we get into that conversation, that is going to be our first topic. And then one of the big news topics in anime in the last week we're also going to get to. But of course, we thank all of you for watching and listening to our podcast. If you're watching us, you'd like to take us on the road, go to XARpodcast.net, powered by Spotify. If you're listening to us, you want to see all the excitement, all our reactions, and all the reactions of the resubscriptions in our chat, go to twitch.tv/Extreme Anime Radio. You can also look up the Extreme Anime Radio podcast on YouTube, posted at the earliest 24 hours after we do our live show. So once again, welcome and thank you for your support. And Neff, let's talk about Anime North. Now, you told us on a recent game stream that you raised about 10,000 Canadian for Toronto Sick Kids. So congratulations to you.
Well, it's not just me; it's my entire team. Most of their time was spent trying to keep me from going absolutely bananas.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're the head of the department, everything that goes wrong falls in your lap, and it doesn't matter what's in your lap already. The new problem, you have to deal with. My favorite of the new problems was we had a mystery donation, an absolute mystery. Sunday morning, we arrive at the display area to take it down, to take it to the site of the charity auction itself. We find a box. No markings on this box, nothing. But it has 2 large cases for Warhammer 40K figurines. And we're talking, these things were worth, I think one of them retail value was about 200 and the other one was about 350 because it was huge.
Wow.
And then a couple of figures. So everybody's looking at me and I'm like, hey, they left it here. Hey, they didn't leave a name on it. We're selling it. And I'll just take pictures. So if somebody comes along next year and says, where's my discount? I'll go, what did you donate? Oh, I donated such and such. Oh, you mean the mystery thing you left without telling anybody about it?
Mm-hmm.
You're lucky we didn't just leave it there to get pinched.
Wow. No name on it. It was just specifically for you guys. It just left it on your table.
Well, they literally left it in our area, so we're like, well, we're going to sell it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there were some vendors who apparently couldn't read because we had said 3 p.m. on Saturday is your absolute drop-dead deadline to drop stuff off so that we can catalog it and you get your discount next year.
Mm.
I got a message from the vendor check-in person that on Sunday at 11 a.m., as we're setting up for the auction, less than an hour, there were vendors who wanted to drop off stuff to us.
Wow.
I almost said yes, but my crew almost didn't, as one said, no way. And okay, my crew says no. And frankly, I'm running around. So yeah, no.
Wow.
You don't get your discount. We can leave that stuff for the prize vault. We'll do what you got to do with it. But no, because we're literally, in fact, we ended up getting some stuff that we did put in the auction literally last minute because the guest liaisons managed to get some of our guests to sign items to donate to the auction to help raise money for Toronto Sick Kids. So we had a number of the voice actors donate a bunch of stuff that they had signed. The problem was, I knew what most of the stuff was. The main auctioneers didn't. So it was kind of like, okay, we know this person. We know that this is a person who's a guest here, but we don't know why they're a guest. So some of it went not as well as I would have liked. So hopefully next year we can maybe convince, the guest liaisons to try and get that stuff to us maybe late Saturday, so we can put up a couple of hours in the display maybe, and maybe talk it up that way. I don't know. But it was one of those things where it's like, great, we've got all this stuff, and man, I wish we had some time to actually advertise it, because we might have got more money.
Yeah, there's an overwhelming amount of support, though. The thought,
Yeah, and again, we raised over $10,000, which again, I thank everyone who donated, whether it be merchandise or actually buying the merchandise, or our volunteers who helped us, set up for the auction. Because again, it's a lot of work to try and do this. And again, as I said, everything can go wrong, eventually does go wrong. My favorite was our guest, the mayor, supposed to be coming at noon. Then it slips to 10 minutes after, then 20 minutes. The main auctioneer is looking at me going, no, we got to go ahead.
No.
So we start auctioning stuff off, and she comes in shortly thereafter. Does auction off a piece and gets a pretty penny for it. But it's more like, and because that slowed us down, last year I was told they finished in about 3 hours. We didn't finish till about 4:30. So it was like, guests are fine and good, but if we can plan them better and maybe fit them into the flow better, we can maybe get things back up to speed. Because I don't know about the other staff, but by Sunday at 4:00, my brain and my body were in two different places.
Wow.
I mean, I am literally auctioning stuff off, and I couldn't tell you what I auctioned off. I would have to look at the cards and try to remember what I actually auctioned off.
I should have asked you before we started the show tonight how our items did.
The SpyX family items got mashed in with a bunch of other SpyX family stuff we actually got. So I think most of that stuff was about the $100 range.
Oh, cool.
There were about three lots of SpyX family stuff.
Nice.
Now, the Anime North mystery bag. Now, here's the story. Saturday around 11 o'clock, and we're not getting anything really nice. We're just not. And I'm like, okay, look, I got to think of something. So I go to one of my staff and I go, look, I know there are people selling video game consoles here. Find me a vendor who is selling a brand new Nintendo Switch and tell them to hold on to it for me. So they go running off. They come back about 20 minutes later and said, yes, there's the one vendor. He's selling brand new ones. Okay. So I'm like, okay, give me a minute. I get up. I hobble all the way over to the other side of the Toronto Congress Center, literally, because we're in Hall A and the vendors are over in Hall F. So I'm hobbling. And by this time, my body's just going, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. But fine, it's for kids. So I get there and they say, oh yeah, you were the guy. I said, yep, gimme. Buy it, throw it in the bag, the mystery bag. So the day of the auction. Now we're talking up the mystery bag. And I'm saying, look, there's one thing guaranteed in here that's over $400. Guaranteed. Okay. So while I'm auctioning the bag off, I'm saying there's one item in here that's over $400. And if you are not driving, you will have something to do on your way home. And that seemed to get people going because they're like, what the hell could he be talking about? If you're not driving, you'll have something to do on your way home. So, and I threw another bone at them. I said, look, I guarantee you're going to go, holy crap, when you see what's in that bag. And when you do, I'll throw in $200 personally. So we get a winner, $685.
Oh,
great. So they start digging in the bag. Dig, dig, dig. Everybody's like, dig, dig. And then all of a sudden he pulls out the Nintendo Switch. Holy crap. And I'm like, okay, that's $200 out of my pocket too. So I go and pay for that.
That's amazing.
So that's a lot of fun. I mean, like I said, I like getting the reactions, and as much as it's fun getting the bidding going, I always find when you get that person who gets the thing they really, really wanted and they come charging up and they're paying for it and they're grabbing it and they're off. It's like, okay, that's what an auction's about.
Yeah. Sounds like you had an amazing time. How would you compare it to previous auctions?
Well, as I said, this is the highest amount we've done in a while. And because we're cashless now, we just do credit and debit. I think it's better because it's a lot easier to say, oh, I'll just plump it on my card, right? They don't think about it until they're home. A week later, 2 weeks later, they see the bill and they go, Animate, ooh, I spent a lot of money there.
You know how I feel when I go to Japan sometimes.
Yeah, and again, that's a very fair cop because you look at that, it's like, oh dear. It's like that's why tap to pay is great and yet not so great.
Yeah.
Because tap 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 tap. Then you see the bill later and you go, ugh.
Yeah, it may be time for me to update this phone soon. Are you impressed with the WWDC? Did you get any bits and pieces of that?
Now, I'll be honest with you, the AI buzz, I'm kind of like on the fence about that stuff because I don't know. I mean, I've seen the Terminator movies. I know how that ends. Okay, so I'm going, do I want to be an extra in the new Terminator movie? I really don't think so because humans don't fare well in those movies, generally speaking.
But no, I was kind of impressed, and not with the artificial intelligence, but with a lot of the features that are coming to iOS, including a dark mode and the tinted color mode. So if you're like me, you have Sarah on your, you can't see it very well, unfortunately. Oh, there we go. Yeah.
There you go. Perfect. Hold it right there. Literally. Hold it right there. Yeah. Actually, there was one cool feature that they debuted, or going to debut with iOS 18, the ability to have more widgets on your lock screen. And one of the examples they used was the Ford Pass app.
I noticed that.
And it's like, ooh. Now, the trick is for me, I use the watch. Because the new Ford Pass app lets you use the watch and it has more features. But if they add even more features to a widget so I don't have to open the Ford Pass app to get to the stuff that I want, for example, opening the trunk, the frunk, the doors, pre-cooling the cabin or dropping the windows if I want to, it's like, okay, that might be, worth. Now, will I immediately upgrade to 18 and not wait for 18.01? I might this time say, you know what? I'll let someone else take the bullets first.
Before we move on to the next topic at hand, I came across something about electric cars. Apparently, Hertz, the rental car company, who a few years ago said the Tesla rentals are going to be the next big thing, and yes, including me, I have rented a Tesla 3 times last year and had a blast driving them. They're fun to drive. It can be a little quirky sometimes. I'll give you that. But now you could look, and they're selling about a third of the Tesla fleet, and you can get a used Tesla for as little as $25,000 US.
Well, okay. Quirks and features that trademark Doug DeMuro. Yes, that the Tesla does have. The trick is though, and I think Hertz overestimated the fact that, look, these are rental cars. They are going to be beaten to within an inch of their miserable lives by people who don't care. Not you, JR, specifically, but the general public, when it comes to rental cars, goes, you know what? I'm renting it. I'm going to use it, and I'm going to leave it wet when I bring it back.
Right.
So I don't think the Tesla likes that kind of abuse. I really don't. So I think that was part of the problem, along with the fact that, look, yes, the Teslas have the supercharger access, but in terms of, okay, if I'm not in a major metropolitan area, I'm kind of screwed, right?
Right.
Whereas if you're like me and you have a car that does the other major standard, which is CCS1, you can get an adapter to use a Tesla supercharger if you need to.
Right.
So you can actually go both ways. Now there is an adapter that goes CCS1 to Tesla, but I honestly don't know if, because the Tesla wants to suck down as much juice as possible when you plug it in, whether or not the 150 watt or the 180 watt CCS chargers are all that great. Now, there are faster chargers coming, but if you're like me, it won't matter because my car, for example, can only take 150 kilowatts. That's it. So it doesn't matter if the thing can put out 350 or 400 kilowatts. It's only going to give me 150, and that is only when the battery's nearly empty anyway. You know, quick chemistry lesson: batteries don't like getting electricity shoved into them when they're almost full. They don't like it at all.
That's part of my terms in one car rental is that you shall not let the battery get above 90%.
Exactly. And there are some, and well, what I've been told, and I follow this pretty closely, is don't go below 20 and don't go above 80 when you're fast charging.
That sounds about right, yeah.
When you're slow charging, they say you can get to 90, 95. You can go to 100, but only do that if you're like immediately leaving on a trip. Don't let it sit at 100.
Exactly.
Right. And since I generally haven't gone, very far with this car, in fact, tomorrow will be my longest trip with this car ever. Going to my dentist in Toronto. Great. I love how the fact I'm going to be driving on a toll highway and paying to get, drilled and filled and then paying to charge the car once it's done. Now, I did fill it up tonight, so I'm at 78% after driving it home. I'm just curious to see how fast it drops when the car is doing a sustained 105 kilometers an hour or so for a good half an hour at least.
I'm going to look this up that Bree just mentioned in the chat. Bree says, I don't know if this was a rumor, but I heard that some people with Teslas are getting booted from their insurance.
I've heard that some insurance companies are saying because of the high cost of repairing these things, they will not take on new policies. Now, whether or not they're booting people, I haven't heard that actually verified. Now, I'm curious to see because my insurance comes up for renewal in August, and I'm going to be getting notice soon, I think, to see if, my insurance did go up on, new car, etc. But let's see if they have, you have a EV, crank. What you save on gas, you pay in insurance.
Yeah, the auto insurance thing for me, I think I'm up next month for my auto insurance renewal, and it keeps creeping up and up a little bit. And actually, last year around this time, I started to do some comparison shopping, and they were going to cost the major insurance companies that I searched. They were all going to charge a lot more for my vehicle. I drive a Subaru SUV, so.
Well, you see, the trick is, okay, other companies may post a lower rate to lure you in, but then nail you on the second and third renewals.
Right, exactly.
Other companies don't want your business, and they'll just quote you a rate that you won't pay. Like, I moved from my old insurance company to the one I'm currently with because my old insurance company wanted to jack me on my old car about $1,000 for no reason whatsoever. So that was the kiss of death for them. They still have my condo insurance only because they offer a specific rider that I want, which the other insurance companies don't. That is valuables insurance. You can actually pay a bit more premium. And, because I have collectibles here, some of which are worth money, I'm like, I would really like to, not get completely torched if something happens to it.
Right.
I mean, like, for example, I've got a poster, a Gundam Wing poster, signed by all the English voice cast, the original English voice cast from Canada, including the late Kirby Morrow. So that's the sort of thing that, if it burns up, I'll never get it replaced.
Call that says the vast majority of the car buying public is rejecting EVs. That's why gas-powered cars will be around for a long time to come. That is his opinion. I mean, you could see that both ways, I guess.
I think part of the problem is two things. Okay. One is the early adopters with money. They've all bought, right? And because electric cars are generally more durable because they don't have all the fluids and all the other things, they don't need to buy another one right away.
Right.
Right. So that's one issue. The other issue is that the charging infrastructure has to be better, because while you're in a major metropolitan area, you're fine.
Right.
But going to the boonies, and unless you have a very long extension cord, you might be in trouble.
Yeah, I'll say to Caldett's comment, yes, I think in the short term that's still going to be the case. But as Neff pointed out, the infrastructure has to grow to sustain the electric vehicles, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I live in an area where literally it's 2 minutes away from my chiropractor to go charge my car, pay peanuts to do it. I mean, I'd like to have charging in my condo. It'll eventually come, I think, and I'll pay for it because I want to be able to just, plug in and then come down in the morning and then unplug and away I go. I don't have to worry about it for a few days. But, if I have to go once every 2 weeks to a charger and sit there for half an hour, play games on the screen, my time isn't that valuable. See, that's the thing. People always complain that it takes long to charge. That's very true. It takes longer to charge than it does to actually stick a nozzle in a car and go for 2-3 minutes. But then you also have to figure out, okay, do I have to pay at the pump? That'll be faster than if I have to go into the thing, wait in line while Grandpa does his scratch tickets and wins more tickets. And see, that was a thing when I first got the pay at the pump software for my my hybrid. That was great. I didn't have to hobble into the thing, wait in line. No, just let me pay, let me go.
We have to go ahead.
Yeah, it's like with the electric car. It's basically, you tell it, okay, I'm here. Okay, let me charge. You plug it in. You sit there for 30 minutes, and then away you go.
We have to move on, but real quick, Bree, I was looking up real quick what you had mentioned. And the first thing that came up on my screen, Tesla actually does auto insurance.
Okay. If Tesla does auto insurance, anything like they do their cars, I would hate to make a claim. I really would.
But no, we have to move on. Before we move on to the other big topic tonight, at least one big topic, remember that we have free wallpaper available for your desktop featuring our mascots, Sarah and Umemi. If you're watching us right now, that's what you see behind me. So if you would like to get that free wallpaper for your desktop, available for a limited time, there are two ways you can do it. You can go to our Discord, or you can go to our Google Drive. You can access both of them on our Linktree, linktree.com/anime radio. And then you'll have a link to our Discord where we have a little area where you can download it straight from our Discord channel, or you can go to the Google Drive and you can download it from there. This art, like my wallpaper on my phone here, both done by Brenny Murasaki, very popular Mexican artist with an 80s, 90s anime aesthetic, as you can see. So hopefully you'll be able to check that out. Okay, Neff, now for the other major topic, and I've seen this topic go across several news channels, and if they talk about anime in Variety, then you know it's a big effing deal.
Yeah. Let me just say, the first thing that when I'd hit my timeline, I'm going, uh-oh. But then I'm realizing, on the other hand, I'm not necessarily surprised, because this particular studio has been, I won't quite say dead man walking for a while, but when was the last time Gainax themselves put something out?
Yes. And therein lies the name, one of the most popular names in all of Japanese animation, known for its critically acclaimed titles, some of them. Of course, the most important one being Evangelion. One of the visionaries, Hideaki Anno, part of that studio for a long time. They also had Gunbuster. They also had Nadia's Secret of Blue Water. And I learned today that Nadia's Secret of Blue Water is actually a little bit of a connection to Hayao Miyazaki of Studio Ghibli fame.
What is the connection?
Apparently, he came up with a concept for that show, but he's uncredited.
Interesting.
But
that must have been many years ago.
But yes, so you have that Gunbuster and Nadia, two titles that you probably grew up with, Neff, because they're so old.
Well, I'll say this. I probably would have watched them either on VHS or back in the days when DVDs were just starting out. Because those are really old titles now that I think about it, and I'm going, ooh.
Yes. So you have the good side of Gainax that came out with those amazing anime titles. The first Evangelion movies were also amazing. And then you have the lowlights of Gainax. And no, I'm not just talking about Karekano.
I wondered where you were going with that, and I'm going, yeah, that's one title where things kind of went off.
Yes, that was one where Hideaki Anno just basically abandoned the anime, and it had that's one of the shows that I actually, one of my first anime titles was Karekano, and I watched it. Was a great story, and all of a sudden it goes.
Well, as the story went, the mangaka and Hideki Anno had a difference of opinion regarding the direction of the show. A mangaka said, "You know what? I'm pulling out of this. Stop abusing my property." And so they basically finished it, with the hatchet job that they did.
Yeah. But now we have Gainax, who in the last few years have been dealing with a massive amount of debt from all of the stories that we read from Variety, IGN, CBR, Anime News Network. They've been in a lot of financial trouble, unable to pay off some loans. In that time, Hideaki Anno went off to a studio called Kata, which is, I guess, a splinter from Gainax, if I understand correctly.
I believe so.
So there's been Kata, and there's another studio involved as well. And I think Kata tried to get money from Gainax for a loan or something. And then they had issues with Gainax's president, arrested and then sentenced to almost 2 years in jail for a criminal offense.
And then I think, because I know Trigger had some...
Trigger's the other studio, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, they had some Gainax alum. And it's like, reading about all the things that Gainax allegedly did, including, the loans to themselves and to staff, right. I'm just going, oh, that's... No. That ends badly.
Yes.
Once you start cooking the books, you're the one that gets fried.
So, yes, apparently... Yes, Studio Kata had loaned Gainax 100 million yen, or $643,000. The Tokyo District Court ordered them to repay it. And when that and other payment demands came, Gainax decided to go under. So as of a few weeks ago, maybe around I think the time we did our last podcast, Gainax has ceased to exist, although the logo and trademark of the Gainax image has been acquired by Hideaki Anno.
This smells suspiciously like, if you remember, folks, we're going back in time, ADV. ADV walked the plank. And suddenly these other companies, Made in Japan, Sentai Filmworks, and at least one more I'm forgetting, suddenly appear to grab the titles and, go on their merry way with them. And it was like, come on. This was the biggest scam going. Because the principles of all these new companies had been the principles of ADV. And it's just like, I mean, okay, U.S. bankruptcy law is not my thing. I'll be honest with you. I do not know that from a hole in the ground. all I know is if you tried that crap in Canada, you go nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. They would have said, no, this is baloney. This is crap. So, ick.
I don't know how Japanese bankruptcy law goes, but apparently they submitted the plan at some point for bankruptcy, and the district court accepted it. So at that point, Gynax ceased to exist. The IGN article points out that signs of struggle at Gynax date back to 1992. Apparently...
Sorry, go ahead.
No. You recall a series, this title doesn't ring a bell to me. Royal Space Force. The Wings of Honeomes.
Honeomese. Oh my God. That was, I mean, it looked beautiful. I'll give it that. It looked aces. But the story, the pacing, it was a train wreck.
Really?
It ended up, I remember when Teletoon up in Canada was just starting out.
Yeah.
That was one of the movies that they would play late Friday night, like midnight, Eastern time.
Right.
And I tried watching it a couple times because they kept replaying it. I kept trying to watch it. I could never make it through the entire movie because the whole thing was just blech. I mean, I don't have high standards, I'll be honest. I will watch almost anything when it comes to anime, but this was just not my cup of tea, not my thing. Just.
So the sequel to that series was canceled over production issues. So that was the first sign of trouble for Gynax. So even before Evangelion came about, because that would have been 94, 95, right?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So, and now obviously with this bankruptcy, you mentioned now who's going to come to acquire all the Gynax content. Probably studios like Kata and Trigger are just going to snap up the pieces.
Well, I'll be curious to who gets Evangelion because that is such a monetized property at this point that I could see a bigger studio trying to get their hands on it. You know, like I could see Sony, maybe through Aniplex. I could see even a Western, interest. For example, Disney. Now, of course, Evangelion is not exactly Disney family friendly, but Disney does have Disney Plus. And they do have some content on there that's like, So it's quite possible. Now, is it going to happen? No one knows yet. Because again, the corpse is barely cooled and the vultures are circling and eventually we'll start, picking and choosing.
Yeah. So, well, if Sony has a lot of money, they just bought Alamo Drafthouse. That news came out today.
Again, I'm not surprised because Sony seems to be flexing their muscles in interesting ways financially. And I'm just going, are they trying to compete with Microsoft and Apple? Or are they just saying, we don't think you're competition. We're just going to buy what we want.
It's actually the first time since like the 1930s where major movie studios have acquired and operated cinemas, because you used to have all these brand names like RKO and Lowe's back in the heydays of cinema running these theaters, and then came something called the Paramount Decrees, and they would specifically prohibit these movie companies from operating cinemas. And I think that got overturned a few years ago, either by congressional action or the Department of Justice overturned it. I'm not sure. But this is the first time since the 1930s, etc., that era, when we have movie studios owning theaters, technically speaking.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. What I found as I've gotten, on in years is that the consolidation of the entertainment industry, it's insidious.
Yeah.
And once you notice it, it's too late.
Yeah.
Like, for example, look at what's happening in the States, for example, with things like NBC, ABC, CBS. I
Mm.
mean, that's already happened up in Canada,
Right.
right? We are literally decades ahead of where the US will eventually be, where you're going to have only one or two big players,
Mm-hmm.
for all the quote unquote brands
Yeah.
of entertainment out there. So it's just a matter of time, unless somebody says, in government, wait a minute here, we don't like the consolidation. We're going to say you can't do that,
Right.
and it somehow survives a court challenge.
Mm-hmm. Well, some anime movie that we might see in the Alamo Draft House in the near future, assuming they carry it. Apparently, I didn't know this. I must be living under a rock if this has been knowledge for a while. But apparently, there's a Lord of the Rings anime movie coming out.
That's news to me. I'll only say that I hope it isn't as long as the Lord of the Rings movies are, only because can you actually imagine sitting there that long?
Har, har, har! I have news for you, sir.
Uh-oh.
From Anime News Network and a few other places I've been reading. My precious, the War of Rohirrim. Yep, you got it right, called it. It was announced, let's see, the Annecy Animation Festival. It was announced that Peter Jackson's coming on as an executive producer. And the director is Kenji Kamiyama, which is a very popular Japanese director name. Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex, Eden of the East, and a few others. And there was a quote from somebody, I forget who. They said they really wanted to try to make the movie 90 minutes. Instead, the movie's going to be 2.5 hours. A 2.5 hour anime. Can you sit through that without an intermission?
Probably not, to be honest. I mean, even a sporting man, I'm just going, I mean, maybe it's my attention span isn't what it used to be, but it's like, come on, 2.5 hours, no interruptions, like no.
So, they've screened the first 20 minutes at the festival, and there was some generally positive response. Let's see. It is also being produced by New Line Cinema and Warner Brothers Animation. So a lot of American companies involved in this. So it seems like it's going to be a very big thing.
I'll be interested to see it once it eventually hits, the streaming circuit. Now, I do notice that, they're trying more and more to drag you back into the theaters with this stuff. They want you to see it in the theaters first.
Yeah.
And maybe, 3-4 months later, okay, fine, we'll release it on premium streaming.
Yeah.
Eventually it gets to, the plebeian streaming, as I call it, the cheap stuff like Tubi TV, etc.
Can you sit through an extended edition of The Lord of the Rings? In a movie theater, probably not. I remember when The Hobbit came out, and we I had a little app on my smartphone, infancy smartphones at the time. I had an app that would tell me when was the best time to go up and use the restroom. Now they charge for it. But
okay, there was an app that charged you to tell you, okay, this is a good time.
It was good when it didn't charge you anything.
Okay, but I'm still going, wait a minute. They thought they could monetize when is a good oh god. Ugh.
So I used it until they started doing that.
Late stage capitalism, folks.
But no, a lot of people from the original live action movies are coming on board and either an on-screen role or a consulting role. So let's see. The current release date will be sometime in December. That's the latest update on that.
Interesting time to release a movie like that. And I say that because, generally speaking, releasing stuff near the end of the year either goes really well or really poorly.
Now, if I could stop you 1 second. It was originally scheduled, I'm sorry, for April 12th, and then it got delayed.
Okay, because I was going to say, once you start releasing movies, etc., in December, you are running into the possibility of, look, it's the holidays. People don't want to sit in the movie theater, for 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So this could very well be an expensive mistake.
Lately, people don't want to sit in movie theaters in general because you see how they're doing, and then you see these people on Wall Street try to prop up AMC.
Well, I mean, it's like up here, they're trying to encourage people to return to the office full time.
Mm.
Except that genie is out of the bottle, and people are going, no, I like being able to work from home. I like not having to commute, 2 hours a day, losing that, time that I could either do more work or, more likely, have a life.
Yeah.
So that is a battle that is coming, and I don't know how it's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, personally, I do prefer working from home when I can because I have the perfect setup for me.
Yeah.
And, I get much fewer interruptions
Mm-hmm.
because the office culture is sort of like they all congregate outside my door and start yakking. And it's very hard to actually do my job on the phones when people are, right outside my door and.
Anything else in your mind, Neff, in the last few minutes we have here?
Okay, well, as we know, as we're doing this, the Stanley Cup Finals are on, and so far, Edmonton, for all their vaunted firepower, have done absolutely almost bumpkiss. And I had a feeling that if Sergei Bobrovsky, the Florida goaltender, decided, you know what, I'm going to play to the best of my ability, that was going to be a problem. And so far, Edmonton has a problem. Now, Game 3 is tomorrow night, in Edmonton.
Right.
So we'll see if they play La Bamba at the end of the night. La Bamba being a tribute to the late Joey Moss, who was an employee of the Oilers, much beloved for many decades, who passed away, and that was his favorite song. So they've made that their winning song. So let's hope we hear that tonight and Saturday night so that we at least have a 6-game series out of this.
Right.
Because if they don't pick up their socks tomorrow night, I could see Saturday being elimination game already. And that would be the first 4-0 in a while where the other team has just basically shown up but not shown up.
Well, there's always CFL, Neff. That's just started.
This is very true. I watched my first Argos game on Sunday night. Thank you, CFL scheduling. But no, I mean, like, okay, Sunday night in June. Now, to be fair, the weather was kind of crappy. So, yeah, you might want to watch, TV as opposed to go outside.
Yeah.
So, but it's more like, huh? And I mean, okay. So the Boatmen win using their backup quarterback because their starting quarterback has been suspended 6 games owing to some very nasty off the field shenanigans.
Oh, great.
And the worst part of it is those are the type of shenanigans I do not support in any way, shape, or form. And you have his jersey. As you remember, when you came up here last year, I bought his jersey. So it's sitting in my closet and I'm going, can I set this thing on fire and not feel guilty about what I spent for it? Ugh.
I'm going to have to read more about this when we're done. I'm curious now. He was one of the he's one of the star players. I mean, gee.
Yeah, he was the star quarterback and basically, was the reason they got as far as they did, winning the CFL last year and then the year before last, and then last year getting to the Eastern Final before finally Montreal decided, you know what? We're going to take you out back of the woodshed and, beat you into a pulp. I mean, that's one of those things where it's like, okay, I know it's the playoffs. I know you play hard, but I don't want to see you scraping people off like friggin' turf.
Well, no, this has been a wonderful time to catch up tonight with everything that's been going on with Anime North and all the latest hot news coming out of Japanese anime. As you pointed out, the Gainax issue is something that's been coming for quite possibly a long time.
Well, as I said, once you're as established as Gainax is, you can sometimes become complacent.
Right.
You know, and that's the issue. Like, for example, going back to Miyazaki, he does not get complacent. He keeps trying things, including trying to retire, but keeps coming back. So, but he keeps trying and he keeps succeeding.
Right.
Whereas Gainax was living off, I think, their biggest hits, including Evangelion. I mean, they've merchandised that to the point where it's like, they're pushing razor blades shaped like Evo 01 and 02 and 03. And it's just like, okay, you've jumped the shark. You really jumped the shark here.
Yeah.
Besides which, seeing Gendo Ikari clean shaven is kind of creepy.
That'll wrap things up tonight for the show, folks. We really hope you enjoyed watching and listening. In a few minutes, we're going to do, if you're watching us live tonight, What the Dub, which is something, well, we have played What the Dub recently, but with the new workshop packs with different themes, but we haven't played, I guess, what I'm calling the vanilla game, Neff. So about 100 new clips, I think, have been added since we last did the original What the Dub game.
Okay, vanilla can also mean various different things, not all of them good. So I'm just going, ooh, this could be interesting. I'm like, wait a minute. That's a term that can be taken several ways. Let's see which way they go tonight.
But before we do that, of course, we have, if I click on the right button, where are you? This one, the closing commentary.
If you have any questions, concerns, compliments, or complaints about this podcast or any of our Twitch streams, drop us a line at extremeanimeradio@gmail.com or hit us up on social media. Go to linktree.com/anime radio. There you'll find links to our Facebook account, our X account, our Instagram account, our Twitch server, our YouTube channel at Extreme Anime Radio, and our new home for our podcasts, XARpodcast.net. That's XARpodcast.net, or your favorite podcasting platform.
And we also have our new Instagram page for our mascots, Sarah and Yumemi. Please be sure to follow them at XAR Mascots. We'll be adding additional mascot content there in the days and weeks ahead. And this has been fun catching up with you again, Neff. I hope we can do maybe one or two more podcasts before it's time for me to shuffle up north for another summer.
Okay, but remember, folks, when he says north, he doesn't mean, crossing the border. He just means another part of New York State.
Yeah.
Now, I can't remember. Are you closer to Buffalo if you move to Saratoga, or are you farther away?
Let's see.
Okay, he's not sure, folks.
The reason I think it might be the same distance, because from New York City, it might be a diagonal. I'm gonna look up road miles. Okay.
The only reason I ask, because of course now the mandatory mini camps have started, and it's like, oh my God, 2 months to the NFL season, more or less, and it's just like, ooh, time flies when you're having fun.
Okay, so 185 miles from. I'm sorry, that's to where I work. To Buffalo from where I am. Road miles, 385. And from my home, away from home to Buffalo, 282. Oh, okay. So it's just a little shorter, but it's still a long drive.
I was going to say, so it's not like you could just pop over to the Bills mini camp and,
no.
maybe catch the football or something.
No. I spent my off days pretty much exhausted, the way the summer might be going this time around.
Well, yeah, you told me stuff off air, and it's just like,
oh yeah.
No, no, thank you. I have more than enough chainsaws to juggle at work. I would not want to juggle the chainsaws you have to juggle. Thank you very much.
Well, folks, once again, we thank you for your support as always. We will see you in just a moment for What the Dub. But if you're watching and listening to the podcast, we thank you so much for joining us. For Neff, I'm JR. Remember,
keep on looking out for the Extreme Radio Twitch streams. And don't forget, archived versions of our podcast are available at XARpodcast.net. That's XARpodcast.net or your favorite podcasting platform. Good night, everybody.
Good night. See you next time.